Enhance your English proficiency with Ali trainings. Subscribe today to access user-friendly courses that will improve your conversation skills and expand your vocabulary. Here are 100 How Far questions with answers designed for daily spoken English conversation. 1. How far is the nearest grocery store from here? It's about half a mile away. 2. How far is your office from your home? My office is 3 miles away from my home. 3. How far did you run this morning? I ran 5 miles this morning. 4. How far is the nearest airport? The nearest airport is 20 miles away. 5. How far did you travel on your last vacation? We traveled about 1,000 miles away to our destination. 6. How far is the beach from this hotel? The beach is just 2 blocks away. 7. How far can your car go on a full tank of gas? My car can go about 400 miles on a full tank. 8. How far is the nearest hospital? The nearest hospital is about 5 miles north of here. 9. How far do you live from the city center? I live about 15 miles away from the city center. 10. How far is the nearest bus stop? The nearest bus stop is just 200 meters from here. 11. How far did the team get in the competition last year? The team made it to the semifinals last year. 12. How far away is your hometown? My hometown is 300 miles away. 13. How far is the nearest coffee shop? The nearest coffee shop is 3 blocks away. 14. How far did you walk your dog yesterday? I walked my dog for about 2 miles. 15. How far is it from New York to Boston by train? It's about 200 miles from New York to Boston by train. 16. How far do you need to commute to school? I commute about 10 miles to school. 17. How far is the nearest park? The nearest park is 1 mile away. 18. How far did they move last year? They moved to a city that is about 500 miles away. 19. How far can you drive with the electric car on one charge? I can drive about 250 miles on one charge with my electric car. How far is the nearest gym? The nearest gym is about a mile away from here. How far is the nearest post office? The nearest post office is half a mile away. 22. How far is the moon from Earth? The moon is about 238,055 miles from Earth. 23. How far do you go on your morning runs? I usually go about 3 miles on my morning runs. 24. How far is it to the nearest subway station? The nearest subway station is about 10 minutes walk from here. 25. How far did you hike last weekend? We hiked about 8 miles last weekend. How far is the nearest library from your house? The nearest library is 2 miles from my house. 27. How far can this scooter travel on a full charge? This scooter can travel up to 30 miles on a full charge. 28. How far is the nearest lake for fishing? The nearest lake is about 20 miles away. 29. How far do you plan to travel for your holiday? We plan to travel about 150 miles away for our holiday. 30. How far is the nearest vet from here? The nearest vet is about 4 miles away. 31. How far do you need to go to visit your family? I need to travel about 50 miles to visit my family. 32. How far is the nearest zoo? The nearest zoo is about 30 miles from here. 33. How far is the nearest dry cleaner? The nearest dry cleaner is just a mile away. 34. How far did you drive to get here today? I drove about 25 miles to get here today. 35. How far is the nearest fire station? The nearest fire station is about 3 miles away. 36. How far is your new job from your current residence? My new job is about 20 miles away from where I currently live. 37. How far do you need to walk to get to the nearest public transport? I need to walk about 5 minutes to get to the nearest public transport. 38. How far is the nearest amusement park? The nearest amusement park is about 50 miles away. 39. How far do you jog each day? I jog about 4 miles each day. 40. How far is the nearest mountain range from here? The nearest mountain range is about 100 miles from here. 41. How far is the nearest train station? The nearest train station is about 15 miles away. 42. How far did you swim in the pool last session? I swam about half a mile in the pool last session. 43. How far is the nearest farmer's market? The nearest farmer's market is about 5 miles away. 44. How far do you travel to work each day? I travel about 12 miles to work each day. 45. How far is the nearest police station? The nearest police station is about 10 miles away. 46. How far is the closest beach from your home? The closest beach is about 50 miles from my home. 47. How far do you need to go to get to the nearest pharmacy? I need to go about 1 mile to get to the nearest pharmacy. 48. How far is the nearest art gallery from the city center? The nearest art gallery is about 2 miles from the city center. 49. How far did you cycle yesterday? I cycled about 15 miles yesterday. 50. How far is the nearest international airport? The nearest international airport is about 40 miles away. 51. How far is the nearest high school from your neighborhood? The nearest high school is about 3 miles from my neighborhood. 52. How far do you live from the nearest shopping mall? I live about 5 miles from the nearest shopping mall. 53. How far is the nearest public swimming pool? The nearest public swimming pool is about 10 miles away. 54. How far did you walk to school as a child? I walked about a mile to school as a child. 55. How far is the nearest natural reserve? The nearest natural reserve is about 75 miles away. 56. How far is your friend's house from here? My friend's house is about 20 miles from here. 57. How far did the package travel to reach you? The package traveled about 2,000 miles to reach me. 58. How far is the nearest skating rink? The nearest skating rink is about 25 miles away. 59. How far is your workplace from the nearest fast food restaurant? My workplace is about half a mile from the nearest fast food restaurant. 60. How far is the nearest barber shop? The nearest barber shop is 2 miles away. 61. How far do you need to go to attend the nearest university? I need to go about 15 miles to attend the nearest university. 62. How far is the nearest golf course? The nearest golf course is about 10 miles away. 83. How far did you travel last year? Last year I traveled about 5,000 miles in total. 64. How far is the nearest bakery from your workplace? The nearest bakery is just 3 blocks away from my workplace. 65. How far is the nearest camping site? The nearest camping site is about 30 miles away. 66. How far do you need to travel for your next business trip? I need to travel about 300 miles for my next business trip. 7. How far is the nearest dog park? The nearest dog park is about 8 miles away. 68. How far is your child's school from your home? My child's school is about 2 miles from our home. 9. How far do you need to travel to visit your nearest relative? I need to travel about 60 miles to visit my nearest relative. 70. How far is the nearest seafood market? The nearest seafood market is about 20 miles from here. 1. How far do you run during your weekend marathons? During the weekend marathons, I run about 26 miles. 72. How far is the nearest hardware store? The nearest hardware store is about 5 miles away. 73. How far did you move when you relocated for your job? I moved about 800 miles when I relocated for my job. 4. How far is the nearest botanical garden? The nearest botanical garden is about 15 miles away. 5. How far is the nearest river from your town? The nearest river is about 10 miles from my town. 6. How far is your vacation home from the city? My vacation home is about 150 miles from the city. 7. How far do you need to walk to reach the nearest public garden? I need to walk about a mile to reach the nearest public garden. 78. How far is the nearest pizza place from your office? The nearest pizza place is just around the corner from my office. 79. How far do you commute daily by train? I commute about 30 miles daily by train. 80. How far is the nearest nightclub from where you live? The nearest nightclub is about 5 miles from where I live. 81. How far is the nearest sports arena from your neighborhood? The nearest sports arena is about 20 miles from my neighborhood. 82. How far do you need to travel to reach the nearest mountain for hiking? I need to travel about 50 miles to reach the nearest mountain for hiking. 83. How far is the nearest seafood restaurant from the coast? The nearest seafood restaurant is about 2 miles from the coast. 84. How far did you travel for your last international conference? I traveled about 3,000 miles for my last international conference. 85. How far is the nearest vineyard from your city? The nearest vineyard is about 40 miles from my city. 86. How far is the nearest pet store from your home? The nearest pet store is about 4 miles from my home. 87. How far do you travel to your favorite vacation spot? I travel about 200 miles to my favorite vacation spot. 88. How far is the nearest vintage shop from your area? The nearest vintage shop is about 12 miles from my area. 89. How far is the nearest pier for fishing? The nearest pier for fishing is about 25 miles away. 90. How far is the nearest clinic from your residence? The nearest clinic is about 3 miles from my residence. 91. How far do you need to drive to reach the nearest state park? I need to drive about 70 miles to reach the nearest state park. 92. How far is the nearest craft store from your office? The nearest craft store is about 10 miles from my office. 93. How far do you travel to see your favorite band play? I travel about 100 miles to see my favorite band play. 94. 4. How far is the nearest ski resort from your town? The nearest ski resort is about 120 miles from my town. 95. How far is the nearest horse riding stable? The nearest horse riding stable is about 15 miles away. 96. How far do you walk to get to your local coffee shop? I walk about 10 minutes to get to my local coffee shop. 97. How far is the nearest furniture store? The nearest furniture store is about 8 miles away. 98. How far do you need to go to find a quiet place for meditation? I need to go about 5 miles to find a quiet place for meditation. 9. How far is the nearest breakfast spot from your home? The nearest breakfast spot is about 2 miles from my home. 100. How far did you travel for your most memorable holiday? I traveled about 2,500 miles for my most memorable holiday. With Ali Trainings, learn English in a structured, engaging way that prepares you to handle everyday conversations effortlessly. Subscribe now to start your journey to better English fluency.